Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Happy New Year, welcome to 2026. We're going to start trying to do a video every Friday now, so we can keep on top of it and just bring out a tutorial video every Friday. So this will be the first one, and this one we're going to just look at some bunkers. I'm going to start on this course I'm working on at the moment, and just I think we'll do, obviously this week we'll just do a few different styles of bunkers you can do. At the moment I'm doing painting bunkers. I did touch on this when I did Carnarvon Dunes, but I've taken it a little bit further now, I think, with the sculpting and stuff. So we're going to look at painting bunkers, because I really didn't like the ones that came with the game for this particular course. Obviously it depends on what sort of course you're trying to do. So that's our starting shot for the tee, hole one. Let's get out of there. It's evolved a bit since we last saw it. A lot of the course is nearly done. I mean, it's not nearly done. I've still got 15, 16, 17 and 18, and I'm on 96.4%, so there's going to be a lot of work to do, I think, in that respect, trying to get it finished. But where are we? I'm working on hole 9 at the moment. So yeah, just looking at painting these bunkers in, trying to get as much detail and sort of definition into them as I can, really. We will go and do a new bunker, because I need to get one down by the green, so I'm just seeing something there. I'm just trying to bring that out quickly. Right, that's that. Just by I didn't see, I've put this little bit of heavy rough. Obviously we go fairway, light rough. Where's my light roughy up there? Fairway, light rough, heavy rough, and then where it fades into the sand, I've just put a little line of grass topsoil in between, just to give it a little bit of definition, so you can see the edges a bit clearer, and it gives it like a false lip, if you like. I will be doing that all the way around on every hole, so we'll just do it on this one quickly just to show you again. Comes out better in some places than it does others, but as long as it's doing its sort of intended purpose, it's cool. We'll just get that in. It just adds that little bit of, looks like a lip on the bunker, because it's just it's a bit like you're doing a bit of shading with your pencil. Just bring that bit out a bit more, try and get that bit there a bit more. That'll do for now. Okay, so we're looking at this hole. It's a drive. Your drive generally puts you about here, in this sort of area along this line. So you're taking sort of a highish wedge in, 7, 8, 9, wind dependent, maybe even a pitching wedge into your green. So we'll just do that bit along there. So basically my thought, I haven't drawn a green yet. I want to get another bunker in here somewhere. I've got one if it strays left, but I want to have something coming off this side. So I'm going to have to just trim back the fairway a little bit there. I'm just going to get that bit of grass topsoil in along here quickly while we're looking, because I can't help myself. And then yeah, we'll just look at how I'm drawing these bunkers and the technique of it and the sculpting, really. Let's get a little bit more around there. Ooh. So let's try and get this around here more. We can always push it back if it's too much. It's not really highlighting there, so what you can do, I find splines don't always highlight it as much as you want, so we'll see if it works. We'll try a brush. Tend to find they've been a little bit more sort of coming up a little bit more with a brush, if we can just get the right shape. See what that does. No, it's not going to have it. It's because it's on such a sharp incline there. It doesn't like it, so that's fine. We'll leave it as it is. You can see the idea. So this bunker's not really doing much there. That's just in case you go long and you try and cut off this bunker. You got a tailwind and you cut off this bunker, it can run into there. But that would be a hell of a long drive. It's looking at 390. But it would be possible because there is a few kicks forward there, especially if you hit around here and kick down. So that's possible. It's quite a tight fairway through the pinch point, but that's fine. As I say, most of your shots are going to be about here, so let's have a look at putting a green in. I do want to take it fairly close to this left edge, and like I say, I do want to get something over here, so we'll just draw a rough green and we can always change it as we see fit through playing the hole. There will be a big dimple there which needs to be flattened out a little bit. It's a bit far at the back. So I do want to have sort of like a point where I come off there. Let's get a bunker in. So for a minute that'll do. I'll just smooth that out. And there's a point there I need to delete. Right, that's that for a second. Okay, so as you can see there's that big dimple there. I'll try and just raise that out. And then we'll get on to what we're here for. We'll look at just sort of normal generic bunkers next time, the difference between splining them and just doing the shapes, and we'll look at sort of just the basic settings of all the different sort of edges you can have in the lip starts and your pots, bunkers and all that sort of stuff. But I thought we'd start with the hardest one first because I am actually doing it at the moment. So I thought it was quite relevant as I need to do it on this hole anyway. So it's a lot of sculpting, not a lot of sculpting, but you got to be pretty confident with your sculpting to get it right. So we're just going to bring these points back so I can create enough room to put the bunker in, because if I try and draw over heavy rough, the sand won't draw over it. So I just need to bring my heavy rough back as well. Let's find the point, get it right back out of the way. We'll draw in some more heavy rough. You'll see it's mainly heavy rough drawing that makes the bunker, which is what I like, because I can pick any shape I want. So now, for example, if I just like to pinch that in a bit more, or a bit of a shape to it. Do for a moment. Needs a bit of straightening out through there. That fairway point needs to come that way a bit. I'll do for a second. So let's draw in a bunker. Doesn't matter how big I draw the actual sand bit, because I will be going over it anyway. So we'll draw it in. I can go right up to the edge, drawing a big one. So that's the basis of our bunker. Then I want to be looking at adding a bit of heavy rough through there. So you can see I've got the heavy rough coming here. So that was annoying me, that. What can we do there? A bit more of that. It's this point here, I think. This one. That's in the way of another one. So annoying. It's about that one. I don't know if I can get that any better at the moment. I might have to just draw a new bit of fairway in there just to finish that edge off. In fact, we'll do it now while we're here. It's all painting, really. The whole process of it is painting, so you can literally do anything you want. You're not forced to work on the shapes or restricted by the spline method. So let's get that in, and let's just put a secondary surface on there. That should finish that off a little bit more now. Okay, that's that. So now I want to raise it a bit, and I need to get rid of this back section. I need to bring that down. So I think the first thing we'll do is flatten the whole thing out, especially towards the back, not so much the front. We'll get it in there, and we will try and flatten that out. So we've got that sort of shape going on. That gives us a raise on the front anyway, because now it's obviously dipping below. That's fine. I don't want to raise the front too much because it's going to impact the green a little bit, but we can pinch it up a bit. So let's just get that done. Yes, I thought if I can do one every Friday, then at least it's consistent, it's regular, and it works for me in a time slot I can do. So we should be able to get a lot more content out now. It's been a bit slack of recent, obviously Christmas, and it's just the family and everything, it's not possible. And then I've been working on this course as well, so that's obviously occupied my time a bit. So we're just using the flatten tool there just to get that middle section down nice and flat. So that's that. Our players can enter it from the back or this more steeper point. I don't think I'd want to walk down there, so it's mainly they're going to be coming in from there. So if that's where the players are going to be walking, then what I will do is highlight that with a little bit of surface weathering, as that's where people are going to be walking the most. What way should we do it? We'll do it this way. And we'll just put a couple of taps on that so it goes a bit bolder. It's not really highlighting a hell of a lot, but we'll put a couple more taps there. That's fine. That's where they're going to be coming in from. So obviously I've got the light rough and the point where it hits the sand, so we need to emphasize that area. I'm just going to bring down this little area here quickly. It's always, as I said before, it's always important to get really low down and look, because you can just see things that you wouldn't see from other angles. It was just a tiny bit that was raised up a bit too high there for my liking, so that's sorted. Right, so now we're going to create a surface. We're going to create a heavy rough around that. Now with a heavy rough, it obviously bleeds out quite a lot, so you don't want to take it too far, so just follow your light rough line. We'll take it to about there. You'll see it will just bleed out into that area. Okay, that's a little bit too much, but all we can do there, find that one, is just move it away until we get the distance we want. So we'll just move spline and we'll just come back a little bit. I don't want quite as much as that. I'm not far off where I want to be. We'll have a look after this one. That's too much. So we'll move that back. Spin it that way a little bit and come to about there. Hopefully that'll even it out. Is that any good? I think we just need to move it a little bit more that way. Probably end up where I was at the start. That'll do. I would like that. See, with the beauty of spline and all this stuff is I can choose a particular point I want to do and just move that point. So I can see that that area there needs to come out a little bit further. But if I was on heavy rough, not fairway. Sorry, just click that back. Heavy rough, that's the one. So we'll try and bring that out a little bit. That's looking better. And now we're going to add a layer of surface weathering through there. And that should match up the rest of the fairway and heavy rough. That's fine. Then we can do our terrain painting grass topsoil little line along there. Try and just highlight that edge a little bit more. See if we can get that going. Got a little bit there, but not much. Might just, if I try and just increase the path width rather than move the spline this time, hopefully it'll, yeah, it's started to darken a little bit. I just want a tiny bit of definition there so you can see that there's something going on. That's fine. So along the back now, I can just use a bit of grass topsoil again. I want to change, let's put the path width back down. So if I want to bring it along there, and if I want to have a bit that sort of comes out into there, into there, into there, we'll just join that back up because I've put quite a big bit in the middle there. That gives us a little bit more shape there. I actually don't like that, but I'll show you how to do what I've done on a lot of the other ones. So, I mean, it doesn't take long to draw yourself a bunker. So what we'll do is for the rest of this, there'll be lots of bushes coming through here, and that'll all be finished with low grass along this edge. So probably I would like to bring, see, if I try and put grass too close, and it's going to be sticking out in the air, isn't it? And I'll have to do a lot of individual planting. So if I cut this corner off a bit more with the grass topsoil, because that's the flattish area, so we'll come to there, try and cut this area off through here, and then we'll bring that round, go onto there. Hopefully that's going to bring all that down a bit flatter now. And then I'm going to go with the same thing but with a brush this time, and hopefully it'll fill it in a bit deeper. Like I say, it doesn't always do it with the splining. You need to hit it a couple of times with a brush to get it a little bit darker, and even there it's still not going to do like I want to do. So that's a bit of a shame. So the way around that would be to add a bit of heavy rough. Now you can say it takes quite a long time to do this for just a bunker, but what's the rush? And if you're getting achieving a finish that you want to achieve, and it's doing what you want to do, then it's worth it. I just don't always like how the generic bunkers come out at the minute. It's something about them that's putting me off. And I suppose, as I said, it's the style of course, isn't it? At the end of the day, if I was doing like a championship American style course, I would be using those bunkers. I wouldn't be painting them. So it's all relevant to how the finish you want. Surface weathering this time. Just want to fill in that little dark area there with a little bit of surface weathering. That should cover it. So that's that bit. So we can come down there if we wanted to. We could put some little steps in down there if we really wanted to, but if it was me, I'd be coming in through here to enter the bunker. So now we're going to work on this front lip a bit more, try and get a little bit more definition going through here. So what I've been using here is this. I've gone raise, landscape tool raise, and we're just going to try and bring that lip up a little bit more, just to highlight that a little bit more. Because we've done one there. We don't need to worry. Yeah, I'm going to pinch this little corner in here a little bit. You see, obviously where I've raised the previous bit, it's going to take that up as well. So if you just come down ever so slightly as you go. We've got that bit in, that's fine now. So now we can come through here, and I'm going to use this shape this time because I want to try and get it around that corner a little bit. I can see where the previous bit was. So there you go, I've just bolted that bit up there now. And it's already looking a lot better already. See if we can't come around here a bit and do a bit more work on this side. At the end of the day, I can flatten a little bit out for people to enter the bunker. That's that bit. I think I'll leave a gap about there and then do this back bit. So if I come through here, that's the wrong shape. It's all about getting the right shape at the end of the day. If you got the wrong shape, then it's not going to work. Could be that that's too high. Just trying to emphasize a little bit of a lip there. Nothing drastic. got that bit at the back there. It's whether I do that far side as well through here. I'll have a look, see what it looks like. Go smaller, bring it up. That's looking okay. We'll drop that in there. And then we've got like a big massive dip there, haven't we, in that little section where the ball could collect. So we can just go to the raise tool. You don't want to use a flatten in that example. You want to be using raise. Get it into that small little nook as much as you can, and you can raise that bit first. Try and get that first little dimple out, and then come along and just make it smaller. Try and find the right shape about there. And then we'll go back to just at the start of it. There was another little area. Just by getting low, I can see how it's looking. That's that. Okay, now have we got a light rough there? I don't think we've put a light rough in, have we? Yeah, that's light rough to the edge of there, isn't it? So, as I've been doing with the whole course, I just need to bring that point back a little bit so it's not dipping down so much over the edge of the bunker. Is it that one? Yeah, that'll work. Where's my fairway? See, I've overlaid a lot of obviously heavy rough now and surface weathering, so when I'm trying to move points now it gets a little bit tricky because your points are in the way, but it's worth the effort. So they're okay now. That's looking a bit better. It's not running down so steeply. I still think I can go a bit more, can't I? But I came to the conclusion I love designing and I'm always rushing to finish a course, and I'm not going to rush anymore. I'm going to put it as, because I watch playbacks on YouTube and stuff of people doing the videos, and I think, why didn't I do that? Why didn't I do that? And I'm just going to get to the point now where I'm going to do everything I want to do. I don't care how long it takes. There's no rush to get courses out anymore. I want it to look as good as it possibly can. So there's a little dip there that I want to highlight, and there's another little dip there that I want to highlight through here. I want to, not highlight, but I want to raise up a bit more just to get it a little bit flatter through there. So we'll just try and do this one first. About there. And I've pretty much done every bunker, well, I have done every bunker on this course like this, so in my opinion, that's what I'm trying to do for this course. It's working nicely and doing its job, so just wanted to show you this technique. Like I said, I did touch on it on Carnarvon Dunes, but it was a bit more basic then because that was the first time I'd ever done it. But you can see I've got quite a nice drop off now from that lip. It's looking a bit more natural. Let's get one in there. That's quite cool. Looks okay from above, so if you want to make sure it's all nice and even around your green, just bring your green points out now a little bit. So this area is sort of the same distance away as the other points. Let's get that, bring that out a tad. About that. Like I say, this green was just drawn in roughly, so it's not going to be exact when we tweak it. There's a bit too much at the back here. You can just bring that round a bit. I'm trying to make it sort of even the whole way around, so there's enough fairway gap the whole way that it looks uniform and nice and neat. So in that respect, this bunker's only really going to be from a massive wayward shot. This one, where that little bit is there, I could highlight that now and put like a little raised area through there, about 10 inches normally, which will affect this side a bit, but I don't mind it too much because I've achieved what I wanted to achieve with that other sculpting. So all I've been doing now, you can see that that green needs to come out through here. All I've been doing next is really just adding a little bit of light surface weathering around the edge of the green, and the only real reason I'm doing that is because I don't like this dark fringe. I want to lighten that fringe up, so just by using the surface weathering I can colour it to a much lighter shade. I'm not going to join it up, we'll just leave it flat for a minute, and then we can just pinch it down a little bit in colour, so we'll take the intensity off a bit. So it's just softened it off a little bit. That was the original darker area, and then you've got a sort of bit of a smoother, lighter area. I think I might just take that back a little bit more and make it a bit darker, a bit lighter. So I'll just creep it up a little bit to 55, even of 60. Yeah, that's better. It just softens those edges off a little bit, makes it flow a little bit more. So obviously the green's going to need sculpting, but that was the point of that bunker. Now if I really wanted to make it a lot more sort of noticeable and a little bit steeper and punishing, if I really wanted to, I can just bring that whole bit up now. Obviously it's going to involve flattening out the green a little bit. I'm going to have a massive runoff point now, but that's that bit done. Now in order to see that bunker, I don't think I'm really going to be able to see it much from the actual shot, from the approach shot. I can try and just pinch this area down a little bit just to try and emphasize that it's there, but I still don't think you'll see it. I'll work on that. We might be able to just bring all this area down as well, another couple of foot. We'll have a look, try it. The only other way to do it is to just raise the green up. What I don't want is sort of, I've got a ridge there which I can now bring down. So we're doing a bit of sculpting at the moment, but it's all relevant to the bunker because I'm just making sure that that bunker works in that area that it's in. So we'll do that there, and then I'm just going to raise that little dimple up with another shape that sort of fits that about here. Get down nice and low, we'll just raise that back up so it's sort of more uniform. That's that. I will be re-splining this fairway anyway. I'll be taking it a lot closer to the grass probably, I'm not sure. But this is the first draft of it, so there's nothing guaranteed. It's the basic layout of the hole is sorted. Just take that across there a bit more. Soften that edge off. Still didn't like that. If it doesn't work, we'll just use a bit of heavy rough again. Create surfaces, terrain paint, grass topsoil. So you can see the basic idea of what we're achieving with doing these bunkers like this. So that's that one. So if I want to do that style shape where I've got the little indentation coming out, all we're doing is drawing it in first. So we'll use a bit of heavy rough, go to heavy rough brush, use that shape. I'm only going to use the end of it just to bring it out. So if I want to do it, I'll put it about here, paint that in. Alright, now we need to obviously bring that up. So I'm going to use the flatten tool to bring it up, and we'll be using the same shape again. So we'll just go around to there, do that, bring that up like that. So that's how I've been getting that sort of thing going on. Then it's just a case of finding the right height that you want to do and just moving it around a tad. So that'll get us that. Okay, then it's just the case of we've got a bit of a darker greener edge there, so we can just soften that off with a bit of surface weathering. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that dimple, so, or that raised bit, because I've got one the other side. I might just leave it open, I'm not sure. But that's how we're doing the bunkers. And let's play from one. See how tough it looks, or how high it looks. I prefer it without that raised area. It looks a bit weird, so we'll just release that out. The green needs a lot of work anyway. As you can see, it's sloping all over the place. But let's try and get that bit out I just took. Where are we? Turn over here. So if I'm just going to square, just bear with me for a moment until it starts to come back out again. Alright, now play from here. See what it looks like now. It's fine. That's it. So really, when you think about it, I can draw any shape I want using the heavy rough. Let's go over here. So if I want to do a great big bunker with all sorts of shapes going into it, oh, I don't want to use that. I want to use that, the sand. And I could obviously change the sand texture I want, but I've chosen this as my favourite one. So if I do something like this, if you've got something like this next to the fairway, and you drop a big bunker in like that, you can go to your raise and you can start to, well, first of all, actually, I would go to flatten, depending on where it is, but this will get you the dip down that you're looking for. Okay, so we'll go down. That starts it off. Alright, let's say the hole's ahead of us up here. And we're looking at a bunker like that. We've then got the heavy rough option to go around the outside to give it its final shape. But then we've got heavy rough that we can add in anywhere to make it a lot more quirky looking. So we'll lay that in first. Oh, I've joined it up. Well done, Steve. So in case you ever do that, just change the shape to open. And it will just bring it back and leave the heavy rough around the outside. So our heavy rough's quite thick there. I'm just going to bring that spline back a little bit. I'll do it for a minute for what we're trying to achieve. You can then draw in your surface webbing if you want it. You don't need to have it. We'll just draw a bit around that. You can join it up because it won't surface weather over the sand, so that's irrelevant. It will surface weather over the grass, but we're going to get rid of that grass because that's all ogend and I don't want it on my bunker. So we'll just spline around that and get rid of that, clear objects. That's gone. So now I can make any shape I want really. So if I want to make it a really funky looking bunker, we can go to create surfaces, heavy rough, pick a shape, use something small so you can remember it's going to bleed out, so it will end up quite big anyway. So we can have all sorts of shapes coming off this bunker. And then it's a case of getting your sculpting right. So let's just smooth that bit out. So now I'm drawing, I can draw anything. All you got to do is be careful of your shapes that run this way. So I didn't think about that. So come back, take those out. I've done that and I've remembered to do it in the past. So if you want to make a wider shape, let's use a different tool. Because I want them to be quite wide, but I don't want them to go over this way. So we'll use this one. About that. About that. We'll just keep working it. We can have any shape we want coming into it. And it's just going to be a case of a bit of sculpting. Just to bring all those bits up, and we'll put one over here. I think that'll do. Any shape you like. You can, there's so many brush shapes you could put in here. It's all down to the sculpting really. So that's the shape of our bunker we've got. We can obviously smooth off all those sort of square edges by just doing the same thing again. Heavy rough brush. We'll use a small one like that. Just bring it down and we'll just put one over the edge. Just round that off. Anywhere you notice it. And we'll do another one there. Doesn't really matter, you are literally drawing whatever you want to draw as neatly or as tightly as you want to. So I just literally prefer doing bunkers this way now. You just got to be confident with your sculpting, because that's the really more tricky bit of it, is the actual sculpting side. So we'll go to a bit of sculpting now. We just need to sort out a couple of these edges, smooth them off a little bit. That'll do for now. Okay, so we'll work on the first area up here, which is going towards green, if our green was up this way, sort of thing. So we'll go flatten first, and we'll dip it down until we get like a little lip on the edge. Gone down 3 foot there. Obviously you're going to go down as much as you need to, because depending where it is on the fairway, if you're on a par 5 and this is the bunker on the left, you want to not take it down maybe quite as deep. You can have it a bit shallower. You can set individual areas to be as shallow or as high as you want. Just by dipping a lot of this down, we haven't got to do too much raising of the actual bits that we've got jutting out that we painted on with the fairway. If we do, we've just got to make sure we do it right. So it's a case of getting low. We're just using the flatten tool at the moment, and we're getting in like little areas like this, looking at it from above, looking at it from every angle, making sure we're right. This is 3 inches down, so it's barely anything. Just making sure we're right through there. That's a bit flattened out. And then we've just got to do this back section, get that down a bit more. And if it is a bit more tricky to sculpt, then remember we can just surface weather, we can just add heavy rough anywhere we want, just to highlight where the actual bunker goes down, if you know what I mean. I'll show you in a second what I'm trying to say. So we do that there. So across the back of this area here, like there, it sort of dips down about here, doesn't it? But I've got all this area to the right, so we'll just add a bit of heavy rough in there, and it should finish that sort of area off a bit neater. Go like that. It gets us closer to the dip a bit more. So you can draw as much as you want. It's just painting, isn't it, at the end of the day? We're getting to where we want to be now. Same across here. I'll just come across there and do that. That's okay for a minute. You can just get down low and you can see there's a couple of little different areas there now. So if I go to the flatten tool, come through there, pick a nice fuzzy one, go like that, try and bring it all the way through to about there. Hopefully that's gonna flatten out that area a bit in the middle of the bunker, and there's just a tiny bit here that just needs to come down. So I'm going to use the raise this time, because flatten will change too much of the shape ahead. That's that. Now we're going to come to this point here. We'll try raise first while we're on it, but I generally use flatten on this bit because you get a better finish on the edge. So we'll use the shape that we painted it, because that's going to help us. All that that's going to do is just make that bit behind stand out a bit more. So that's that. We'll come around here, we'll do this one. Boom. Just try and find a spot that looks good. I think the flatten is a bit too high on that one, so we're going to try the raise this time. I think we'll try this shape. Yeah, about there. So you have to be confident with your sculpting. But it's just a case of switching between raise and flatten to where you want to get it. Some of them will work with the flatten because this bank is a lot steeper and this side's a lot flatter on this side of it. I can get away with the flatten more. So if I go back to the raise there, that's not really working. So if I go to the flat, it should do the same thing as what we've got over there. Just a case of spinning it around, getting in the right position. I could bring it up a little bit more, do that. And then we just got one more to do over the back here. And that's quite flat through there, so we can get away with the flatten again. Through there. There's a couple of little areas that will need some work. It's going to be this little dip here on this mound. So I can either take that bit down there or I can raise that bit up there. Considering that's higher there and higher there, I think I'll bring this bit up. So we'll go to raise. We'll get our shape as small as we can in that little nook. Bring it up until we find it looks a little bit more even. Looks a bit better. It's one. And over the back here on this one, I've got a little area about here. I just want to smooth out a tad, so that's done. And then behind it, obviously, there's a big area that needs to be worked up. So looking at it from the side, that looks about right. That's one. And then just to the right, there's a little dimple in here somewhere, so I'll just bring that out. Just get the right shape. If I take it away, you can see it there. If I bring it back in, just try and get rid of that a bit there. Okay, so now the only bit I think that really needs doing is our leading edge of the bunker, which would be across here. So we'll go back to the raise and we'll use that shape like this. Exaggerate it right out as much as we can. Bring it up a bit, bring it back and then drop it down into where we want to be. That's obviously going to affect a certain other little area just at the end of it where that other raised section is, which is about here. So there's another dip there between those 2 points, so we'll just do the same thing as we did before. Just a case of raising that bit up and we're nearly done. So we'll just bring that little section up a little bit till it's more uniform and even. That looks fine. And that's pretty much it. We've drawn any shape bunker we wanted to draw there. We've got it in. Like I say, whether you prefer it or not, it's purely a matter of opinion, isn't it? But as I've said previously, it just depends on the style of course you're doing, doesn't it? At the end of the day, it's all that matters. So, how can we do this quickly? Because someone did ask me a question. How long have we got left? 43. So what I'm going to do is just delete this heavy rough a second. Delete spline. We'll get rid of everything and it should go back. I've got loads of heavy rough points, haven't I? Let's just delete these points quickly. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Select, delete. We're going to try and... They was asking me about really neat edges on a bunker, on a course that's like I want to flatten that whole area out. So they was asking me like a sandbelt course, but having really neat bunkers along the fairway, so you've got a nice edge to it, but then having the washed out look behind. So something I've never really done before, so I thought I'd just try it quickly. Delete spline. This is not affecting my course, so I'm just going to save, because I did like the other bunker that we did over the back there. I'm just going to save that quick. Right, so what was I talking about? So if I draw a little bit of a fake fairway, we'll see if we can do it. I'll give myself enough time. Fake fairway, let's get this in. There's my fairway. Let's draw, or we're not going to draw a bunker, we're just going to create. No, come on. I should probably do this in a separate video. I haven't even tried it before, so I don't even know if it's going to work. I've got a rough idea what I'm trying to achieve, even if it doesn't seem obvious. So that's what we got there. So we got a nice neat edge on our fairway. So then how much can I draw behind that? So if I come along here, along there, just along that whole edge basically. If I draw in sand, we're going to get, that's the little area of heavy rough I had. I just want to delete that one. There's two there, I think. Yeah. Delete. Well, what it really is making this blend, isn't it? Because where you've got the back of this bunker point here, I mean the sand colours are pretty okay. They match kind of, but I don't really see a way you can get that ultra neat. Even if I flatten, I'm never going to take that lip out. So if I go to the tools of the bunker, so it will highlight the bunker, there it is. We'll go to lip start. We'll try and see if we can blend that in with the lip. We're just making that really tight now. Going up, going up. I want to see if I can get rid of that little black line on the left as much as I can without affecting the edge of the fairway a bit there too much. Go back to bunker options. Lip steepness. I don't really want that to be that steep, do I? Want it to be quite subtle. And then the depth, obviously, I can bring in because that's way too flat. I mean, these are all the things I'm doing with sculpting, if you know what I mean. It's just a case of if you get stuck up against there and you're trying to get out, it's going to be a hell of a tricky shot to get out of. Now the problem is I can't paint over these areas now. So if I go to terrain paint in subsoil sand and I try and paint something in like that, it shouldn't affect it. So what I would do in that scenario then is get a terrain paint in. I've got a subsoil B dirt that's quite dark. We'll just try and cover the whole thing at first around there. Try and darken it off a little bit. And then I would literally take that back a little bit. And then if I change my bunker settings to this one at the back here, I'm wondering if this, no, that is way out. That's much too yellow. It's just a case of finding one that sort of matches your sand that you're using. And that's the biggest problem. Excuse me. Hungry. Always hungry. Try that one. That's way too dark. That one. Too dark. Like I say, it's just a case of finding the right colour that sort of blends in as best you can find. I would go through every single one. None of them are really doing it, but let's say we did that for example, then you can then go create surfaces, terrain paint in. Try that again with the brush this time and a fuzzy brush. Just try and blend in a little bit more with stuff like this, just trying to see if we can get anything going like this. So we can make some darker areas near the edge of the bunker, sort of blend it in a bit more. A little bit. It's not ideal, but that's kind of how I would do it. And then you've also got the option of just adding in some light grasses and things like that just to break up those edges. I haven't really, like I say, I haven't really investigated much into this, so it's not something I've really tried before. The only way I've ever done it is by separating it with grasses and things, you know, having edges like that, but that's not really what we're trying to achieve, I think. It's just finding a texture that matches your texture as best as it possibly can at the end of the day, I think. To get it as tight as you want to get it. The bunker textures, there's not many. Well, the others are way too white. I would have thought that one would have been good, but that's just almost like a grey colour. Well then, let's say with this colour. So then we would go... go back to create surfaces. Create surfaces. And we will go terrain painting, subsoil sand, subsoil texture. And it's a case of flicking through these ones and trying to match it a bit more. It's a bit lighter than that, a bit darker than that. This one, way out, way out. You know, the whole thing just becomes really finicky and fiddly. I have seen people do it, and they've done it better than what I think that looks like. As I pretty much said, it's a case of finding the right textures that match just as close as you can get them, really. I don't think there's any that are going to be perfectly matched, but you could find one. I bet there's one in there that will just match nicer. That's why I would tend to just draw it in myself. The only issue is you can never get as neat a line as that. So if I come out now and take away that bunker shape and try and draw that in with a spline of sand. Oh, need to get rid of that. Another one there, isn't there? Good. Delete. There's more under there as well. That one. It's the last one. So if I try and draw a similar shape like that with sand right up against the bunker, I'm not going to get that cut in along the fairway that I want to get. So it was like that. I can't draw over the fairway. So you have to put a bunker in if you want to cut along the edge of the fairway. And if I do it in reverse, and then draw a fairway around, so I can make the bunker shape with the fairway, sort of thing like that. And then use the technique of bringing it up with those lips, the way I was doing it with sorry, I'm trying to use my brain and work at the same time. With the sculpting method, I can create almost, I'll obviously need a lot of smoothing out in a minute, but it would just be a case of sculpting like that, and then obviously flattening out areas behind to make all that nice and smooth. Like that sort of thing, and having really smooth area like that, but then you would need to make a defining sort of edge that looked a bit neater. Got 5 minutes left of the video, so we'll just try and get in a bit. Did I use topsoil? Yeah, I did. Not much. Oh, that's a massive amount. You can make it work like that a little bit more, I guess. It's just a case of getting that lip really tight. What about if you use that one? And we haven't obviously put in a secondary surface on that yet for a light rough. If I was going to do it, that's how I would do it, basically. I would be sculpting sand rather than fitting in a bunker and trying to sculpt. Let's get a secondary surface in. Oh, that's not that. What now? Fairway. Because that will change it again. And then I would just move that back a bit because of that secondary surface. It's coming out a bit further now. Yeah, I would be sort of drawing in bunkers using the fairway. Just putting loads of sand around the edge of the fairway and then getting bunkers in using the actual fairway as the shape of the bunker, if you know what I mean. And then you're just back to painting lots of stuff that you want to paint again. So I can't remember who asked that question. I'm sorry. I don't mean to be rude. I didn't check, but I did remember that you asked me it, and I did want to touch on it. Because you were saying, how can you get really nice smooth edges from your fairway onto bunkers and then blend it in with the rest of the sand belt? So that's how I would do it, basically. You can see what I've sort of done as a faux bunker there and this bit here, and then having the sand belt running off to the rest of the course. Obviously the rest of it will be sand as well, but it would just be a case of a bit more sculpting on your fairway. It'd be quite a tricky little operation, but that's the neatest way I can see of doing it. So you haven't got that back edge of the bunker, that little line that you had. Yeah, that's kind of how I would do it. So I hope that's answered your question and you can see what I'm trying to achieve there. So if I went to landscape flatten, in that little gap there, you can get it as tight as you want. It'd just be a case of doing lots of little bits of sculpting, taking it right up to the edge to get your lip steepness, almost like you're doing with the tool, like that. That's the edge of your lip of your bunker, and just working all the way around so you're happy you've got it all how you want to get it. And once you've done that, you can then just sculpt the bunkers like I've showed you before, and then through there, we're on flatten still, just to bring that up a little bit sharper, I would go that way, like that. That's kind of how I would do it, but it would be a hell of a lot of work. But if you're trying to achieve that, then that's all you can really do, I think. And if you just want to soften that edge up a bit, just to make it blend a bit nicer, a little bit of surface weathering through there, and you should be a little bit more subtle now, like that. Yeah, that's how I would do it personally. So thanks for watching. That's painting bunkers, doing all that sort of stuff around the edges and blending things in a lot smoother, and showing you how I've been doing these bunkers on here, not being restricted by shapes or anything, just using your own imagination with terrain painting basically. And that's the method I've been using on this course. Like I said, it won't work on all courses, but for the example of this course, that is how I would do it, and that is how I have done it on all the bunkers. So thanks for watching. Next week we'll go to sort of more normal style bunkers and then just look at different things you